Hey, everybody. So I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this broadcast tonight and the interview that I'm going to do with several members of the new Panthers initiative. I am going to be using my software tonight, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. I chose to do it this way because I wanted to be able to have all of the members on, not all of them obviously, but all of them that I was going to be interviewing tonight in an effort for you to be able to see faces, for you to be able to hear directly from them. And I wanted more than just one individual. So that's why I'm doing it this way. Hopefully in a second, the comments will kick in and I'll be able to see what you say. Y'all know that sometimes that happens and sometimes I can't. So like right now I can see emoticons, but I can't see actual words yet. So we'll just see if it works. Maybe this is God protecting us from people saying shit they shouldn't. Maybe that's what that is. We'll see, right? Okay, so I want to go ahead and preface this with a couple of things. If you see there's like, hey, Tammy, you might have to refresh. Okay, so one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is there's a little notice that is scrolling at the bottom that says, please keep comments respectful at all times. Folks, I am not going to tolerate foolishness on this live. The whole idea is for this to be informative and for the community to learn some things, right? So having said that, I want you all to keep that in mind in terms of this conversation. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Christian. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Addie. What's up, Amy? How y'all doing? Everybody's good? Glad. All right. So check this out. I will not be as engaged on the comment side, but Thea, thanks for asking. I'm feeling better. I am still only tolerating Gatorade and crackers, like. But I decided, like, here's the thing: if you feel like shit, at least don't look like shit. So I did like do my hair and put on some makeup, so I wasn't up on here with just my bandana and stuff like usual. All right, so who do I have? I can hear somebody talking, but I can't see them. Who's talking? Because what are y'all talking about? I can't see you. Nope, I have no idea who it is. There's somebody that says, somebody just said, hi, cutie patootie in the background. Whoever you are, I can hear you, but I can't see who you are. Y'all hear it? Can y'all hear it too, or is it just me? Somebody just said happy birthday, oh man. It's somebody who's on here, but I can't see him yet. All right. So here we go. So I'm going to dive right in. So the first person I'm going to have you all talk to is Aaron Rashad. And Aaron, whoops, hold on. Sorry. There you go. You should pop up in here. All right. So Aaron is, I was put in touch with Aaron. So several people reached out to me asking for me to do this interview. Somebody keeps saying waiting to go live. I don't know who that is. But Aaron, you can hear me, right? You're good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. It's Aaron, not Aaron.
It's Aaron.
Aaron.
Yeah.
I done heard it three different ways. Aaron, got it. I want to say your name the right way.
People have been messing my name up my whole life. It's all right.
I had to catch myself just because the normal thing would be to spell it. So can everybody who's watching, hey, Mindy B, can you hear Aaron as well? See, I got it now. Now that you told me how to say it, I'll be able to say it the right way.
Testing. Can y'all hear me?
I'm checking to see if everybody else can hear and see.
Just let me know when they can.
Okay. All right. Yep. Everybody says yes. Perfect. All right. So the reason why I wanted to do this is several people who are affiliated with your organization asked me, would we, be willing to do this interview? And I think that's Jack Brown that I'm hearing in the background. So Jack Brown, if that's you, hit mute. Okay. But anyway, so I said yes because I know what it is to do a protest and to have lots of information swirling around in social media and in the regular media, and some of it, not accurately represent who you are and what your mission is and what you want to do. So, first of all, nice to meet you, and pleasure to have you. So tell me a little bit about this. So tell me, who are the individuals that are going to be on with us? Tell me a little bit about you, and how New Panthers Initiative came to be.
Well, I mean, as far as I was told, I'm pretty sure one of the members of the Facebook group had reached out to you about it. As far as who's here, everybody here we recognize and call founders. We have founders, we have cores, and then we have prospects. Basically, the prospects are people we haven't tabled in. Founders are people who have been with this since start, and core would be the majority of everyone else. Usually we go based on like how long you've been around, who knows whose face, like what you've done for the movement, as far as like not what you've done, but I would say what you contributed, as far as like events that we've had, have you been active. As far as who's on the live, I'm pretty sure it's me, brother. Yeah, that's my brother Kemp, Chanel Whitaker, Andre Johnson, and Jack Brown.
Awesome. Okay, so how many? So what would you say is like the average age? Because a lot of the videos that I've seen, everybody looks fairly young. What would you say the average age is? In terms of the entire organization and the founders would go.
We've got members ranging from young to old. I mean, we don't really have an average age, I would say, because we are very diverse. We have several members in my age range. We have several members in their 20s. We have several members in their teens. We don't really look at it as far as like how old you are, because I feel like everybody has a voice and everybody has something to say. I feel like, age doesn't really define where you are in life. There's some people who could be 18 and have a less mature mindset than another 18-year-old. It's just really about where you are in your convictions and where you are in your journey in life. Gotcha.
So when you talk about founders, core members, and prospects, is there an expectation from the group in terms of how the group is represented, how you represent yourselves? And is there a standard that you hold people to if they're going to be a part of the NPI, and you do have a movement and you do have things that you're doing in the community that I do want to talk about in just a second? Is there, do you all have, like a guideline, for lack of a better word, a way that you do things, and the way that you want people to represent themselves and represent NPI?
Actually, we had a meeting tonight. We've been working on a table of content, or not table of contents, but a code of conduct. Sorry, we've just had a lot going on.
Yeah.
We haven't really had a chance to sit down with the cores and the founders to actually come up with a set of rules for everybody to follow. But I mean, generally we do have, things that we hold each other accountable for. So, I mean, the thing about us is we move as one. There's no person above the group. So, I mean, even if you don't have as much experience, you're still going to have an overall vote, depending on what the matter is. If it's something that's, important as far as the internal business goes, then the founders will vote on it. But as far as like every day, just what we're going to do, day-to-day operations, planning for events and stuff like that, it's always a group vote. It's always everybody gets a chance to have their voice heard.
Awesome. Okay. So I asked you earlier today in preparation for this, I asked you to share with me some of the initiatives, and you sent me hold on. Let me see if I can do this, because what I want to do is I want people to see it. And I uploaded a lot of other things, but not this. Maybe I'll show this later. Let me get through some of this other stuff so I can clear out some space. All right. So here's one of the things. So let me just make sure that I tell you this real clear, okay?
Mhm.
In the comments, not you, Aaron, hold on. Look, she done got my attention. So let me just say this. In the comments, you will keep it respectful. You will keep it respectful, or I'll have to boot you out, because the idea behind this is for this to be a productive conversation, right? So if you are not here to learn and to be educated about who this organization is and who these people are, then go away. Seriously, because it's not for you, right? So we'll keep going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring on a couple of the other people. But if you were going to say to me concisely, Aaron, what the mission of New Panthers Initiative is, what is it?
Equality for all people.
Equality for all people.
Yeah,
so now let me ask you. So let me ask you this: when you say equality, because I used to say that all the time as well. Do you think that equality is the goal, or equity?
Equity is important. I think that socially, it's been shown that people at ground level economically aren't on the same level as some of their peers. But I mean, only way we're going to get that economic status is if we can come together equally. I feel
Right.
like,
So, but what I mean by equity, follow me. What I mean by equity isn't from an economic perspective only. So equity would be, so here's the deal. Let's say, how tall are you, Aaron?
6'2".
6'2". All right. So I'm 5'6" and a half, and I have to have my half. So don't judge me. I need my extra half, especially when I'm around people that are 6'2". But if you're 6'2" and I'm 5'6" and a half, right? And we're both standing under an apple tree, and we are both hungry. And the apple tree is its lowest branch is 6 feet 5 inches, right? Then you need 3 inches to get to the lowest apple.
Right.
I need a foot and some, right, to get to the lowest apple. So equity means, because if you give me the same 3 inches that you need, that's equal, but it's not equitable because I still can't reach my apple. So right. So when I say, do we want equality for all people, or do you want equity for our people? Because like you said earlier, different people are at different stages and in different places in their life. So they may need something different than what the other person got. So if you were going to speak to that, what would you say?
I mean, I agree. I think that, there's a lot of people who are in need that might be better off than people in a lower station. I think what I mean by equality, a good example is women's rights, LGBTQ rights, voter and firearm ownership rights to nonviolent felons. That's what I mean by equality. I would say is just a really hard look to what we have done to these people in society, and how we've taken their rights to healthcare, how we've taken their rights to defend themselves, how we've taken, we've made sure that these people have to do things a certain way and they don't have a say in their bodies, their choice of who they want to love, and they don't have a say in the electoral process. And I think that it's important that we go back and really look at that and figure out a way to make sure that everyone's being accounted for, that everybody's taken care of. This is a great country. It's flawed, but overall, this is a great country, and we have the resources. We're just allocating them in places that they're not as useful. I don't want to say that everything that we spend money on as a whole isn't needed, but there's a lot of things that we could be using funds for to make sure that people in this country have an easier life.
I got it.
Everybody, not just people of color, not just LGBTQ, not just, everyone. We want everyone to have access to programs and rights that are going to benefit them, and not have one person saying, my voice and my lifestyle is more important than yours. because of so-and-so reason. You know, we want everybody to be able to stand together and take care of their communities, take care of their families, and be productive members of society.
So what I hear you say is that New Panthers initiative is equal representation for all people. So when you talk about equality for all people, it's that you are a voice for all of those folks that are underserved and that maybe need adequate representation. You know, whether it's Black and Brown lives, whether it's LGBTQ initiatives, whether it's women reproductive rights. Your focus is equal representation for those people that are being, maybe disadvantaged by the system, is what I hear you saying.
Right. I can agree with that.
Cool. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to one of the other members of the group. I'm going to let you take a break. And I appreciate you stay with me though, Aaron, okay? So I am going to bring on Chanel Whitaker, who, there we go. You're coming on in 1 second. All right. So I asked earlier, because when I first got the list, I got a list of like 5 guys, and I was like, you got any female members? You know, because again, representation matters, right?
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that, we did that. So I'm glad that you agreed to be on. I do want to say this for those of you guys who notice, I am wearing my I Can't Breathe shirt for a reason. And the reason why is I'm 100%, like I told these guys right before we came on air, I'm 100% behind the movement for Black and Brown lives, right? Y'all know that I'm also behind peaceful movements. That's a Dani thing, right? So I want to talk a little bit about, Chanel, we talked briefly about the volunteer pawn shop incident. And I said that there was no way I could do this interview and not ask you all from your perspective what transpired and what you take away from that. So if you'll speak to that for me.
Okay. And from the beginning, basically what happened was we went to the volunteer pawn shop legally. Everyone that went in there legal with money in their pocket, ready to purchase weapons. We had just got through doing community outreach, so we were all wearing our New Panthers Initiative shirts. There was no ill intent. There was no sort of us trying to provoke them by wearing those shirts. We had just come back from an event where we work in the community pretty much. And then we showed up, like I said, more than willing to spend the money, window shopping, looking in the cases. We had some people that are first time shopping for guns that have never owned guns before. We had people that are very, very familiar with weapons there as well to sort of push them along and let them know. Basically there was people behind the counters that were willing to help us answer questions, show us guns. And then suddenly the owner, or one of the owners, the woman, comes out from behind the counter and she tells us, she says, I need you guys to get together and leave. And one of us asked, we say, why do we have to leave? She said, I'm the owner of the shop. I don't have to tell you, get out. So obviously the senior members are like, okay, everybody, let's go. Obviously these people have a problem with us being here, even though we didn't do anything wrong. We exit their store, no fuss, no fight. So then we're outside, and the gentleman who also partially owns the shop, the one that's been all over the news lately, comes out there and he goes, you guys need to leave my property. And we're like, why are we being removed? He said, because you all are a red flag. So many of you people in one area are a red flag, is what he says to us. We're like, what do you mean, you people? And that's when we start asking for numbers. We ask him, sir, how many people are allowed to be in this building? He says, according to the fire marshal, 49 people are allowed in there. Keep in mind, there are at most 15 of us and less than 10 people that are working at the store. So there are not that many people in the store. There are not too many people based off of what they've been told they're allowed to have in the store. They have deemed we're a red flag because we are wearing New Panther shirts. And that's eventually what he comes around to telling us. Well, you guys are wearing New Panther shirts. Like, what's that about, kind of thing. Keep in mind, most of our group that day they're white people that are with the New Panthers. They just have on the New Panther shirts. So it's not like he kicks out a group of black people. He kicks out black people and white people for supporting the black people.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then he tells us when we're out there, we're like, so are you saying that if a certain amount of us go in there, that's okay? And he's like, yeah, a couple of you go in at a time. I could stand that. So 2 people walk in, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The gentleman walks out a couple minutes later, and then he stands in front of the door to block the woman from stepping back outside. And she's inside going, let me out, pushing the door, let me out. So she pushes it a little bit, and he doesn't budge. Then she pushes it again to really let him know that she's trying to come out, at which point he reaches around, grabs her through the crack in the door, and slams her on the asphalt. And that's when her boyfriend charges up to help her. And then the police, which are already there because as soon as they kicked us out, they've called the cops on us already. There was nothing, we haven't done anything wrong except for question why we're being kicked out, apparently. The police pull the boyfriend off of them, which leaves her an open target automatically. Because keep in mind, this grown man is on top of her the whole time. Eventually, everybody gets separated. The police later claim they didn't see anything. More and more police are coming, and we're doing everything that they're telling us to do. We're giving our statements. We're doing everything the cops are telling us to do. Most of us at this point, except for the ones giving statements, have migrated to the sidewalk as they've asked us to do as well. But yet more and more police officers are dispatching. Like at this point, there's 6, 7 cop cars there. And all the police are just standing around claiming they didn't see anything, even though we got them on video. Like several of us have Facebook Lives that have gone absolutely viral at this point because the cops are claiming something different happened than what's showing in the videos, which I think is part of the reason why the videos have become such a big thing on the internet, because it shows what really happened and it shows what the media isn't showing. So we're like, okay, well then we're having a protest because the police at this point have said, there's nothing that we can do. We can't arrest him. We can just file something with the courthouse and then give it 3 days. And we're like, that's not true. You just watched him assault this woman. You mean to tell me you cannot take him away in handcuffs? And they're like, no, we can't. We have to wait 3 days. A report has to be filed. So they basically claim that although they watched him assault this woman, and they did watch him show his weapon to said woman, the pistol that he was carrying as well, that there was nothing that they could do. We were on private property. He did not want us there. They basically blamed us, even though we were trying to be customers. So the media spun it to where we shouldn't have even been there. We should have left without questioning him when he kicked us out for absolutely no reason and profiled us. Like the police basically spun it to make it seem like it was our fault. So we protested. The police eventually brought out riot gear, even though we were on the sidewalks doing what they asked us to do. We gave them our statements and everything, and they protected the man. They stood guard at his door. They wouldn't let anybody speak to him. Whole time, the man kept stepping out and yelling at us, flipping us off. When you called, he called us the N-words and all this stuff, and like basically cussed us out. He cussed us out. He cussed out people that supported us. He cussed out the white people that were there with us. And basically, yeah, that's what happened. And then when the police got involved later and brought out the riot gear, things got even worse.
So I want to talk for a second because I watched a couple of those videos. So whenever things go down around here, people send me videos fairly quickly. And one of the things that I talked about, because I watched the video and I watched it several times, and here were some things that I want to share with you all from my perspective and see what you say. Okay. So I agree that he assaulted her. Like it's clear to see on the video that he absolutely assaults her. Like you can see that plain as day.
Yeah.
The thing that I think sets you guys up sometimes for what happens and for the media spin or even the police spin, if you will, is the comments that happen. Because you got to remember, when you're recording them, you're also recording you.
Yeah.
So one of the videos that I saw, I heard someone while the male and the female were the 2 people that had gone back inside, the boyfriend and girlfriend, while they're inside, the owner of the shop, she's talking and she's visibly talking with her hands. Right. And people are outside talking about her talking with her hands. But the way that they're saying is they're saying, yep, there goes Karen talking with her hands, da 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 da. And then somebody says, well, we need to see what's going on in there. And that's when the door is opened and someone says, he says, don't come in. And she says, I'm not coming in. We're just videotaping what's happening inside. And
right.
that's how it kind of escalated a little bit. Now, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that just the rhetoric, even if she is a Karen, right? Even if she is, do you think that when people watch the videos and they hear that it sounds antagonistic and as if someone's looking for trouble, whether you are or whether you aren't? My question is, do you think that can add to the issues?
I think that it can. I don't think that it was necessarily looking for escalation in that situation, because at that point, the situation has already escalated. These people have called the police on us for absolutely no reason. These people have already called us names at this point. They have already made it abundantly clear that they don't support our movement, and that's why we're being removed from the premises.
Right.
Even though we didn't try to bring our movement to their store, if that makes sense. Yeah, we were wearing the shirts, but that's not why we were there. We weren't preaching our movement to them. We weren't trying to get them to join. That's not what it was about. So at this point, they have already escalated the situation by profiling us and discriminating against us. And as far as, do I think that it could cause more of a stir when saying things like calling people a Karen? I do, but I also think that once somebody has already been profiled and discriminated against, we don't get to tell them how to express their anger at that point. So right. It may not always make sense to fight fire with fire or to retaliate by calling them names because they're calling you names. But at least myself, I try not to make it a point to tell someone how they're allowed to be upset once they've been put in that position. Like, a young woman had hands put on her. You know what I'm saying? So the last person that I'm going to try to check in that situation is her. Because as far as I'm concerned, like, the people that were there, that were discriminated against, that were removed, they should be angry.
Right. And I get being angry, right? I am all about righteous anger. Trust me. Yeah. I have felt it for a very long time, and especially like with regard to our healthcare in this region. However, the question that I have, and this is because I think it's so important. So I'll share this with you. So I moved back here. I'm from Bristol, and I moved back here after my grandbaby was born here at 26 weeks, and she was in Holston Valley Medical Center, and like, they saved her life, and it was awesome. And then when Ballad took over, and I learned that they planned to shut down that NICU and all of those other things, that's when I moved back here, right? And so I've been back here now for over a year. And so a year and a half that I've been on this Ballad Health thing, I avoided certain topics. Like racial issues, social injustice, because focusing on the Ballad Health Initiative was so important. What I didn't want to do was be divisive at the time, right? Right. I didn't want it to harm the objective, because the primary objective was saving healthcare, the NICU, the trauma center for our region. So my question is, even if we have the right to be angry, and even if it makes sense, and even if it's justifiable, if it damages the overall objective, especially because you're a new organization and people are going to judge you by the slightest things because of the name, because of those things, even though it might not be fair, right? Follow me. I'm not saying that it's fair or right, but if you know that people are going to judge you in that way, do you not have to elevate yourself to another level and not let it get the best of you so that you don't hurt the movement, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that you have a point. Like you said, though, we are a new organization. So we are still building our code of ethics. We are still learning not to engage when we are presented with certain situations or certain comments. We're still coming into ourselves as an organization. We're still getting comfortable with one another in a lot of different ways. We're still learning our surroundings. We're still learning our area. Most of us grew up here, but we're being shown in a different light now than we have been for how many 20-something, 30-something, 40-something years. So like, we're having to relearn, basically, is what's happening. We're learning not to engage. That's an issue that we do handle within the group as well. A lot of the senior members will say, you know, hey, look, there's not like a leader, but a lot of the senior members will pull us aside and be like, hey, you know, I get that you're angry. That's okay. You should be angry. That's what this is about, turning your anger into passion. But like, maybe we shouldn't engage that way. Maybe we should instead do this. That is something we're working on within the organization.
hold on, Chanel. So listen, let me address folks in the comments, okay? I need you all to keep your comments respectful. And if you don't, I'm going to have to boot you and block you. Seriously, boot you and block you, because this is the conversation that where we are trying to move something forward. So here's what I'm going to ask you all to do is just ignore the trolls. Seriously, ignore the trolls in the room, and we're going to stay on topic, because this is too important not to stay on topic. Okay. Sorry, Chanel.
No.
But this happens all the time. I get it all the time. I was expecting it tonight, so I'm good with it. So thank you for engaging in dialogue, because this is one of the things that I said the other day, is that I know what it's like to be in this arena and to have people saying all kinds of things about you that may or may not be true.
Right.
And the thing about it is when you know that that's the case, and you know that the system is not made for you to work on your behalf,
Right.
then you have to elevate yourself to a higher level so that they can't use anything. You know what I mean? So, for example, when they kicked you out of the shop, at that moment, that's the time to turn on the cameras and don't say anything. Just turn them on and videotape what's happening, document it, so that you don't have anything that comes back. You know what I mean? That's the biggest part that that I wanted to see. Same thing with social media posts. Look, let me ask a question, Chanel. How old are you?
22.
Yeah, so you're the age of my babies, okay? And so just pretend like I'm your damn auntie for a second, okay? Because it takes a village, my girl. It takes a village, right? We have to know, you have to know that they are trolling your social media page.
Oh,
you have to know that. Yeah, because they do mine all the time. So, the first one that they used is this one. This post of you guys at the gun range, right? And they were like, look at what they said. And they were like, mess with the panther, you get the claws. And the truth of the matter is, I could show you a bajillion pictures of different people at a gun range talking about defending their property, especially around here, and the Second Amendment, but it's not going to have the same impact because of who you guys are and the name of your organization, right? So let me ask you, with reference to this picture. So I don't agree that this picture is a negative representation. My only question that I have about this picture is, do you think the caption is what drew people to it?
I do, but also I know that an intellectual will realize that that caption is no different than you play with fire, you get burned. You lay with dogs, you get fleas. It's the same. It is the same caption as many other sayings. What is making them mad about this is the fact that we are a part of Black Lives Matter. And I think that they just don't want to admit that. They're like, oh, it's the caption. It's the cap. It's not the caption. It's not the caption. We're at a gun range. We're exercising our Second Amendment right. And like I said, that saying is no different than the other two sayings I provided. And really and truthfully, I don't think anyone should have an issue with it.
Awesome. Thank you for responding. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to move on. You can stay with me, but I'm going to bring somebody else on. Okay, so give me one sec. All right, so I'm just going to go in the order of who's up next, and so I've got Jack Brown up next, and so let me just ask for a second. The folks in the who are watching, is this beneficial for you all? Like, I'm curious. So, because it is for me. To me, I love these conversations, and I think when people get to see you, hear you outside of what's happening in a really volatile environment, when tensions are high and there's police in riot gear and there's all of those things, right? It's better to do it like this. So, Jack, tell me a little bit about you and what drew you to the New Panthers initiative.
Pretty much I've always had a passion for just being black myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love everything about our history. I love everything that we've been through and overcome over the years. Um, and basically, back in the days, the Black Panthers definitely was an organization that I did, look up to because they fought for their rights. And
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a little different. I think the narrative is different nowadays because now we have different people in our organization. You know what I'm saying? And pretty much that's what I enjoy the most about our organization because we get to express to people that really all we want is equality for all people. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what made me want to be a Panther. And I love being a Panther. I love my brothers and sisters, all colors, all different sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. So I love them all equally, and I love being a Panther.
Awesome. So yeah, that was one of the things that I noticed when I looked at the pictures today. Because like I said, I am just now getting familiar with who you guys are. How long have you guys been around in terms of like an organization?
I would say going on about 2 to 3 months now.
Okay,
Um,
so two,
we
3 months.
kinda
So infancy stages.
some of us knew each other beforehand, and we always have had the same views of things dealing with politics and dealing with people with racial tendencies and racist tendencies, things like that. So it kind of was easy for us all to come together, and just seeing other people with the same passion, it kind of just caused us to just draw near to each other and become stronger. And I can admit that we are a young organization. We're still learning. Some of us can tend to get emotional at times,
Mm-hmm.
but I do love the growth that we are gaining each and every day. I can honestly say that we do have a lot to learn and we do have a far way to go. But each day is a different learning experience for us, and I'm thankful for all of the different times that we have with each other to learn one another and to also learn how to become more militant, how to become more, together as one.
So I want to ask you because people are going to hear the word that you just said, militant, and they're going to go, "Oh shit, what does that mean? Does that mean violent?" So
No,
elaborate on militant for me.
when I speak on militant, I don't necessarily mean, violence. And I think when you hear that word, a lot of people do get nervous because they mean like, oh, what do they mean? Like more guns and this, that, and the third. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean by militant is just pretty much more organized. When you go into for people that are in a military, I think the one main thing that they stress to each other is to be organized, to be on one accord. These are your brothers. These are your sisters.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I say being militant, I just pretty much mean being on one accord. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
us knowing each other, knowing when to not get so emotional in certain situations, knowing when to stand together in situations, stand strong, things like that. That's what I mean by militant. I don't mean anything violent or anything of that nature.
Got it. Thank you. So like I don't know if you noticed about me, but I'm an Army veteran. So when
Oh,
I hear, yeah, so when I hear militant, I have a different idea, right? So I
of course.
understand that, uniformity is necessary and the idea of being together, having each other's, having each other's six, being in step, being in formation, being on
Indeed.
one accord with the same agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So let me ask you this. Does anybody that you know of in terms of founders, core people, or prospects, Camp, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't stay in this live. Every time you click out of your phone and you come back, I have to mute you all over again. Stop checking your damn phone until we get off of here. Like, I don't even know him, but I'm going to need him to stop
Ooh.
coming in and out this damn broadcast.
He hard headed. He hard headed. Get on to him.
Okay, but so does anybody that you know of have a desire ever to see things escalate? And do you have people that show up that sometimes that you feel may show up and not be in step with the core group? You know what I mean?
Most
I've seen other areas where there have been people who instigate that aren't necessarily part of the core, and it becomes a direct reflection of the whole group.
I think I can honestly say we've seen a lot of that. I think when it comes to social media being involved a lot, you have a lot of people that want to be what you would call, I guess, trendsetters, or they want to be a part of a trend.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one thing that I try to tell people every day. This isn't a trend. I'm black every day. You know what I'm saying? I can't.
Yeah.
This ain't something you go into the shower and wash off. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to wash it off. I love it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I try to. When it comes down to things like that, I try to just pretty much tell people, you know what I'm saying? We got to be on one accord. And the people that I feel are stepping out of line, um we definitely do check that. We have our meetings and we have, our get-togethers where we will discuss certain things like that. But one thing that we try to stress the most, and I think we try to sound as intelligent as possible when we say this, or try to sound as nice as possible when we say this, but we definitely mean it. We do have white members, and we do have people that come around that are white, and sometimes I think when it gets to certain things escalating, sometimes we'll have some of those certain people that'll come around us and they'll step up and they'll want to do something that's hype. And then, that falls back on us. And sometimes we have to tell certain people, don't don't use your white privilege in that certain situation, because it escalates onto us and people already view us in a negative manner, and we don't want them to
Mm-hmm.
continue looking at us that way. But we don't just speak to white people, we speak to everybody. And some people step out of line. It doesn't matter what their color is or who they are. If they step out of line, we do have to address that, because at the end of the day, we're being seen by everybody. And sometimes I can admit I step out of line sometimes, and I need people to put me back in my place. It's all pretty much just a growing process. So we definitely do take care of that, because we need a good name. You know what I'm saying? When it's all said and done, you want people to know who you are, but you also want them to respect what you do for your community.
Right.
So,
So the folks that are with you that are white,
mhm.
you want them to be an ally in the right way. Because
Exactly.
yeah, sometimes people don't understand that allyship can be damaging if done in the wrong manner and in the wrong way. Um, so that's what I hear you saying. And, I think that people have to understand anytime that you put something together,
Mhm.
you're going to go through growing pains. And when you are going through something that's already getting national attention, right? We haven't had any looting here. We haven't had any burning buildings here. Nobody's setting anything on fire, right? That's not happening here locally. And what happens is when people here locally look at national media and then they see a local organization, they automatically compound those two things together.
Indeed.
That is why I had the conversation that I had with Chanel,
Hmm.
because we know that exists, like it or not. You have a greater responsibility. You have a greater burden on your shoulders to not give any room for anything negative to happen. Like, that's just the reality. Whether it's fair or not doesn't matter, because we all know that life is not fair. If it was, we wouldn't have to be marching and protesting so that, people weren't murdered.
I know.
So, right? So the
Hmm.
idea is the thing that just like, I'm almost 50. Okay. So a lot of y'all are the age of my children.
Black
And
don't crack.
she said, black don't crack. I'm just saying, not even when it's got like, not even when it's like
Not
half
really.
black and some sugar, like it does. Right. But so one of the things that when I saw the videos, I got the anger, right? I got the frustration at being told you were a red flag. The behavior, though, and the language, I was like, it's going to turn people off. Whether it's fair or not is totally irrelevant, right? I want to talk about a couple of things that I saw on Iran's page. I'm going to say that man's name right from now on,
We
Iran.
messed it up too. We messed it up too.
See, well, I caught myself because I've been saying Aaron all damn day, and now it's Iran, right? So check this out. So this looks to me like this community event. This was at the Family Dollar, and this happened yesterday. My understanding is this is something that happens every single Monday. Can you share with me what you all do at the Family Dollar every Monday?
This is my favorite part of what we do, man. Like, it's community outreach. Pretty much what we do is we go to the less fortunate neighborhoods that's in our city. You know, places like Keystone. We go to places like Carver. We go to places like Tyler Apartments. We a lot of us come from places where we didn't have a lot growing up. So we definitely want to give back to our communities and people that need it. And it's funny that you show these pictures because we kind of try to leave the cameras out of it because it's not something that's for show. You know what I'm saying? Like, we
Right.
definitely love our community. We love our people. And we understand that our people struggle sometimes. And that's the reason for community outreach. We're out there every Monday around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. We go to these places. We divide these products up, whether it's hygiene products, diapers, food, clothes, and we definitely we will go around and knock on these people's doors. We'll see some homeless people and we might go and have a conversation with them, and you know what I'm saying, make sure they're good because we care. You know what I'm saying? And I can honestly say, basically to what you were saying before, that sometimes people do look at us in a certain light. And that goes back to what I was saying, that we're in a growing stage. So it's like we do good for the community, but also sometimes we do express our anger as well. And it's like we're trying to learn to channel those things, but at the same time, we still want people to know that we show love and we do care for our people. So we do continue to keep those things going. We continue to give back because we know that's most important. We want to see our people on our feet, on their feet, and not on their backs.
Got it. Awesome. Yeah, so I went and snuck around a little bit today, like checking out some of y'all social media. That's why I told Chanel, act like I'm her damn auntie. Because you gotta, like, you just gotta know that they're coming. You know what I mean? And they're watching, and anything they can possibly use will happen. Now, I'm gonna say this. Y'all just got to clean up some of the other stuff. Cause like, I'm listening to you. This is the first time I've ever heard you, right? I don't know you from Adam,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I can tell that you love and believe what you're doing. Like, I can tell that from listening to you. And I can tell that it is 100% not for show. I think that's what you all have to elevate to. So just like when Aran was talking about putting together a code of conduct, right? Give me 1 second. Jen, here's what we're not going to do on my broadcast. I don't need you interviewing people in my damn comments because you don't run my show. If you would like to do a Facebook Live on your page, then you can do that. But I don't need you to do that on mine. And I don't care about anybody's record. People love to criminalize people and use their past against them. Let me just tell you, if somebody did their time and they've done it and they've moved on and they're actually doing something that is productive in society, then I need for you to have several damn seats, because I don't believe in making people criminals forever, right? There's a reason. We're supposed to learn and grow from things. So that's just not what we're going to do on my live. And if you don't like that, go somewhere else.
Right on, sister. Right on.
I mean, this is something that I'm serious about because, you know, I know people that are elected officials around here that the only reason they're not in damn jail is because they are elected officials. I'm just saying, like, you all know that I know. Right? So here's what I'm saying. The people who want to judge criminals, most people are only not criminals because you didn't get caught doing whatever the hell you did. So that's just it. That is just it. So I'm just not down for that. This is about being a productive conversation, period. And I am giving, so I don't think that I'm giving anybody a pass. I think I'm being fair and calling you all out on the areas where you need to clean it up, right? Because you do. If you want to be effective, you've got to clean it up, right? at the same time, I want people to see your heart and what you truly hope to achieve. And then everybody has to align with that. 100%.
Indeed.
Everybody does. All right. I could keep talking to you for a hot minute, but I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to bring, let me scroll down through here. Who do I have on here? I got, well, I'm assuming these folks are still on here. Do I have, hold on, mute here. I can't see their faces. So maybe it might be, look, it might be one of y'all two coming back, but we're getting to the last 10 minutes anyway, but hold on a second. Yeah, Andre, you in the damn dark.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in the car, boo-boo. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. So y'all pretend like you can see. Y'all pretend like y'all can see Andre. I can see your hat a little bit. It's all good. It's all
How you
good.
doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. I love being black in this country.
You know what? Now, I can say I love being biracial. I don't know that I could always say that I love it in this environment with everything. I won't even say that with everything that's going on now, because I'm from here, right? So it's not always a pleasant thing, but I love who it makes me as a person, right? I love how it challenges me and who I am as a result, if that makes sense. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the initiatives that were shared with me, and I still didn't bring them onto this computer because I got carried away talking, but it's okay. The initiatives that I got from Iran, some of the core things that you guys were focused on were, hold on, where did he go? There he is. Perfect. All right. Were equality for all people, which we already talked about. Community outreach, which we talked about, education on all, constitutional rights, education on laws, Black entrepreneurship, education on Black culture, or what I would call cultural immersion, the school to prison pipeline, which is a huge thing, police reform, which is demilitarizing, right? Reinstatement of rights to nonviolent felons. So can we talk about those things right there? And what do you think are some of the most informative or the most, what do you think are the highest priorities and the things that you have active initiatives and programs in place where you're moving those forward?
I think for me personally is the education of the community about why we do what we do. I always stress you wanna know why you're in a movement, so we have to educate the history of the nation. Because if we have people that are just angered for no reason on both sides, we can't come to a even keeled conclusion on why we feel the way we do. So when I go out and when we go out to these marches, my main thing is always being educational. I always like to hit people with historical facts, something that you cannot deny. You have to look the truth in the face. And I think that America has been, for the longest, living under a revisionist history. So my job, what I like to think of my job is going back and unwhitewashing society as we know it. So education is one of those things for me. That's high on the list. Black entrepreneurship. I think if we establish our economy back within the Black community, then we can start to really see some positive change within our community, where we can affect some things within our own community with our own dollar. Such like when you look at other communities such as the Jewish community, they're very well versed in economics. So if we can learn how to take care of our own dollar, we can learn how to take care of ourselves. So out of the initiatives that we have set forward, I always push for those two as the mainstay for what I focus on and what I really drive forward.
So I hear you saying education, entrepreneurship, and economics. Those three things playing a role. What you said kind of reminded me of a clip that I recently saw from Muhammad Ali, where he's being interviewed and he's being asked. It's by a British reporter. He's in the middle of a ring, and he's being asked about what is his goal. And the guy who's interviewing is a white British man, and he says, that he thinks the objective ought to be integration. And Muhammad Ali says, oh, so if I'm understanding you right, you're telling me that you want me to integrate, but why can't I have my own? Why
Right.
can't I have my own country? Why can't I have, he said, because if I integrate, then I'm still reliant upon the systems that you run, right? The government that you run. What if you run out of money? What if you run out of hospitals? What if you run out of this? Whatever you run out of that? And that's kind of what I heard you say. And now I'll be transparent with you. This has always been a difficult space for me because I am one of those people where at the end of the day, I do want the whole like kumbaya moment where everybody loves everybody and we have equity and life is great, right?
Right.
And it's also difficult not to understand the validity of the Black economic argument of, you know, maybe segregation was better for Black people.
Right.
What's your take on that?
It kind of does have its point theoretically that segregation was a good thing, especially for our community, because everything was kept within the community. So from that stance, I completely see the argument. But if we're talking about societal equality, then that's where we have the argument fall apart of segregation. I'm not a separatist. However, I do preach Black power and black knowledge and Black empowerment, and it's not a wrong thing. I don't think it's wrong for us to have those sentiments amongst our community, because we've been seen as less than and weaker before. So I think if we stress strength within our own community, that's a very vital part of this whole movement.
What do you think has been the greatest challenge in putting your organization together and, you know, trying to become, you know, active in the community, educational, and still balance the very tense race environment that we have right now?
I think it's just the initial rejection of those who don't initially want to listen. That's been the hardest challenge. But once you kind of break through that first barrier, you can kind of gauge where somebody's mindset's going to go within the first minute of talking to them in all reality. So it's really been those who have just been really neglectful of the information that I try to convey to them. That's kind of been the hardest part but I'm an excellent talker, and like I speak with a certain confidence. I don't mean to boost my own ego here, but I speak with a certain confidence, and I refuse not to be heard or understood. So, like, honestly, realistically, the hardest challenge has been like the kind of the counter protester per se. But that's what makes it so fun is when you have those challenges and you can get people to open up their heart with one conversation. And that's really where I think the power of the movement comes from, is having these hard, uncomfortable conversations within our own communities.
Yeah. So now you just brought up something you said within our own communities too. So, you know, there seems to be this narrative that Black people only care about Black lives if they're taken at the hands of a white person or a police officer. I know for me personally, that's not true. What's your take on that narrative, and what's your position and NPI's position about that sentiment and on Black lives and brown lives, period?
That sounds like the Black on Black crime argument, and I really hate that argument because it only applies to Black lives. We don't hear white on white crime when it's in trailer parks or wherever the case may be. We don't hear about I don't know the term, a yellow on yellow crime when it comes to the Asian community, and whenever they're, because honestly these projects are segregated neighborhoods. Let's call it what it is. They're blocked off from vital parts of communities in the city. It's hard for public transportation. Healthcare is less than. The schooling systems are terrible. So you have people boxed in with a lot of life choices they have to make on a day-to-day. So if you have a lot of people in a crime-ridden area, of course those people are going to be committing crimes against each other. That's just statistically speaking. And I really just hate how that argument only applies to our community.
Right.
And I know that we have things that we have to fix in our own community, but that also plays into the hands of the system that we've been forced to live with since we've been free from the plantations in 1865. So in order for us to fix our own communities, we have to start looking at the system as a whole and seeing what it can do and provide for our people to have an equal footing, so we don't have to be forced with certain decisions in our own communities, whether we struggle to see our next meal or wonder how we're going to keep our rent paid or our lights on for our babies. So in order for us to do that, we have to take a look at the system in a deeper lens and cleanse the system from a whole, from the top to the bottom, so we can start working on our own communities with this new legislation and everything that we plan on pushing to further and better our communities, not just the people of color. But once we start handling that, we can start handling other classes of people, because in my view, this is my personal standpoint, racism and classism kind of go hand in hand when you look at it. So once we start tackling racism, we can start getting to the problem of classism in this country.
So I put up a status today and I said, if you are an adult who does not recognize that homicides or crime happens as a matter of proximity, right? It's proximity. Right. And that this country is still largely segregated, whether we like to think we are or not. Right. In terms of our living environments, we are still largely segregated. And that is why in 2018, according to the FBI statistics, 81% of all white homicides were committed by white perpetrators and 88% of all Black homicides were committed by Black perpetrators. It is not a great disparity in those numbers. Right. So I understand exactly what you're saying about, the whole Black on Black crime. It is not a case. I think that there's this mistaken assumption that somehow Black people aren't aware of the issues in our own communities. I think we are just as much as any other racial group. There is no one is more aware, as a matter of fact, about the issues within those communities than the people who live in them. Right. And the fact that they only get brought up, like people got really pissed at me last night because I put up a status, and this is what my status said. I said, and then I gave people an English lesson because they didn't pay attention to my entire post. My post said, if you are a white person who is outraged by the death of that beautiful 8-year-old baby in Atlanta, like we are as well, but you are not outraged by the murder of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy playing in the park with a toy gun, stop using our children to fit your narrative. I don't believe you, right? Because if you're not concerned about our babies every other day of the week, I think the only reason the children that have died recently has made the news, I know, is because they can be used against the Black Lives Matter movement. Because other than that, 25 out of every 100,000 Black children go missing every year, and they do not make mainstream news. Right. So if you care about Black babies' lives, where are you the other 11 months out of the year when you're not using it as a narrative against Black Lives Matter? Right. So, and people got mad at me because they said I grouped all white people together, but I didn't. I spoke to a very specific group of white people who were outraged about the baby and not outraged by Tamir. Like, that's a very specific group. That's not all white people, right? It's selective outrage used against the movement. So what's your favorite part in your community outreach? Education?
Honestly, I'm a man of the people. So anytime I get the chance to delegate with my community, I love it. Whether we're going to the apartments, handing out items that the community may need, whether it's doing educational hour, whether it's marching and seeing those different faces, the diverse crowd that we have. Everything that has to do with the community is my favorite thing. I can't pick one thing. I just love, it's not even about me, and it's never been about me, so I remove myself from the equation. It's just the fact that, we get to give the community hope, and when you get to see that in person, it lifts you as well. So anytime I get to be around my people, whether it's white, Black, Hispanic, wherever the case may be, I just love the feeling of authentic love that they give off to us as well. And it allows us to move them in the right direction. So anytime we link up as a whole, man, I love it, and it doesn't get any better.
All right. So I'm going to bring I'm gonna see if I can bring the rest of you guys back. And we're gonna wrap this up, but just hold on one second, because I want to also address the classism statement that you said a second ago. Because one of the things that I have always said, let me make sure I unmute everybody at this point, because I want to have a joint conversation before we wrap this thing up, is one of the things that I've always said is that the 1%, the folks that are actually running things, right? They don't really care about black and white. The color they care about is green.
Right.
And so whatever it takes to make that happen, that's their focus. And so when you can't hold someone down based on their racial group, then you'll target them by their class or their economic stature, whatever way it is that you can remain in power. So for you all, what would you, I'm checking my list, like, cause look, I even typed, y'all be so proud of me. I typed up a list for them and everything. I was like, guys, this is what I'm gonna talk to you about. Because I really want it to be informative. I wanted people to see you, hear you, know what you represent. And I also wanted to give you a little bit of feedback from your Auntie Dani, so that you can clean your shit up and not give people ammunition to use against you. Cause that's necessary, right? It is necessary. Whether we like it or not, we have to carry ourselves in a way that doesn't give somebody else ammunition against you. And what we've known is that, so I know y'all know Ta-Nehisi Coates, right? And so he was talking about this great video. This white girl stands up. He's at this like school, and he's giving this talk to them. And she stands up. She's a white girl. She says that they have this concert on campus, and this rapper is talking, and he's like, nigga, nigga, da, 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 all my friends or whatever. And she said, I don't know what to do when my white friends are saying the N-word, because I don't feel like they should. And he says, okay, well, he said, words mean nothing without context. And he says in this conversation, he said, so understanding why black people can say nigga and white people can't is just like this. He says, so my wife calls me honey, right? He said, that's the relationship that I have with my wife. But if I'm walking down the street and a strange woman walks up to me and calls me honey, that might not go over so well, because I don't have the same relationship with that woman. He said, another example is, he said his friend has, a white friend of his has this cabin they all go to. And his white friend calls the cabin the white trash cabin. He says, no, I would never say to him, I'm coming to your white trash cabin. He was like, because, it's not something that I would want to say. He said, another thing is my wife talks to her girlfriends and they call each other bitch. I do not join in, right? Because that's right? I think it's very, and then he goes on to say this, what is difficult for white people about the word nigger is that they feel like it's a word they invented, and why can't they use it? Like, it's their word, right? And he said, and maybe that's a good thing. He said, because you get to understand just a little bit what it's like to walk around being black, because you see things every day that other people do that you can't do.
Indeed.
Right.
So I have seen white college students tear cities apart after games, light shit on fire, stomp on cars, like climb up poles, like break windows after a ball game. But they're just rowdy and celebratory. But if black people do it because they are protesting the death of their own people, then they're thugs. And they're all those types of things. Now, I don't condone either of those two things. I understand where the latter comes from, right? I can understand something without condoning it, right? But there's understanding, and this would be the thing that if I could throw anything at you, if I could leave you with anything, it would be to understand, especially in the community where we are at, where the average is 95% white, the average, right? We actually have one of our 6 counties that is almost 98% white, right? So if you understand that, then the responsibility for you to be heard is for you to be able to flex into their window and to carry yourself as much as possible to a standard where you cannot be, where it can't be used against you, if that makes sense, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. So that would be one of the biggest takeaways, and letting people see you. It's not that you do things for the cameras, but I made the suggestion the other day. You all have a private Facebook group, so have a public Facebook page that where you can actually have your events on it with a clear objective, with a clear agenda. So there's no misconception about what's taking place. Press releases are your friend. Let people know where you're going to be, why you're going to be there. I have a list of those contacts for you if you would like them. I offered them on another live that I did. What I will say to you is this. I think from what I've heard from you tonight, I love the enthusiasm, the initiative, the willingness to also receive. Like as soon as I said to Chanel, pretend like I'm your auntie, she smiled. So what does that tell me about her? That tells me that she's someone who can be coached. She's someone who can be taught. That's important when you are going to be in a movement like this. You have to be strong and vulnerable at the same time. And that's what I see from the people that are here, right? And the willingness to learn and move forward. So I am here as a resource. I'm happy to help with information, or like if I can give you some whatever. Like I mean that. I'm also gonna be fair at all times if I see y'all doing some shit that ain't cool. And tell y'all the same thing. Before we wrap it up, is there anything that you all want the public to know before we get off of here?
You want to go first, or you want me to
go?
Okay.
I mean, as far as it goes about the perception we give off, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I don't personally feel like there's anything that we have done that kind of. I mean, I get that we've rubbed people the wrong way because people haven't had a conversation with us. But there's certain things that have been brought to my attention that people just don't generally like me cussing. I don't feel like that hinders the movement. I feel like I should be able to express myself, especially if I'm articulating a point, and that's not just for me. That's for any one of my brothers and sisters that's out there speaking. So
Yeah,
I
I
feel
will drop a fuck bomb in a minute. So I'm with you there, Dre. Don't worry.
right. And I've also had older people come to me talking about the way that we dress. And that's the thing that we're trying to fight is stereotypes against our own people. So why are we casting those same shadows on our own people? You know, like we have to be able to understand each other instead of castrate each other when we don't agree on things. So that's all I have to say for the older generation. Reach out to us, hold our hands. Like, don't demonize what I'm doing because I'm doing something different than you. You understand what I'm saying? Like we all
Right.
have to work. We all have to work together despite differences if we have the same end goal in mind.
Right. Everybody has their position to play, right? And
Right.
everybody has their way of doing it. I don't care how you dress. I don't care if you curse. The things that I was referring to is just if you're in a situation that is already volatile and you just want to be mindful of the fact that how you say, my daughter up here sending me stuff while I'm talking to y'all.
I can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. And then
Okay.
Jack was
Okay.
jumping in.
Yeah, I was like, I thought I had cut out for a second. But yeah, just to add on to what he had said, can you hear me? Am I cutting out?
No, I can hear you perfectly, but Dre wanted to finish his point.
Oh, okay. See, I can't hear him, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, shit. You finally came back, Kemp, for real? Because you done been in and out this thing. I gave up on you. I gave up.
Oh,
Always
I
late.
did. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. since hold on a second. Since Dre just wrapped up, I'm gonna bring Kemp on real quick, and then we're gonna wrap up. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so Kemp, I haven't got to talk to you, although I've been muting you about 20 damn times tonight because you keep leaving my lives.
I know.
Tell me this, so very quickly, because we're over time, but very quickly, tell me. Oh Lord, yeah, we got a lot of stuff happening around here. So the lady who went viral for the comments, the whole white lives are better, right? From Elizabeth the other day.
Mm-hmm.
She has now done an interview with MJL saying, "I'm a grown woman, I know better," and she apologizes. So I want, since this just happened, I do want to get your take on that. I do want to get your take on that, and then remind me to address the other, because I want to bring up the with her. But Jack, I'll start with you because I see your facial expression. Uh, what is your response to her apology, saying she's a grown woman and she knows better?
You're asking me? You're asking
Yeah, go
me right now? Okay. Yeah, my response is I feel like she said what she said already. She may have learned her lesson because she lost her job and she's getting heckled by the internet. But I mean, me personally, I don't accept her apology because I mean, it's not my place to accept her apology. I feel like we should continue. I feel like we should continue to keep her on the spotlight for now, just so it raises awareness within our communities.
Yeah. So let me so this was my take, because I think that she got the most attention because she was behaving in typical what most people call Karen fashion. And I do want to address Karen. So just so people know, the term Karen is not about all white women. Like, all white women are not Karen. Karen is a behavior specific term. Karen is a behavior specific term. So if you are a white woman, but you are not behaving in the manner of a Karen, nobody's going to call you that, right? So I think that people have to keep that in mind. It's not a racial slur. It's not a slur that has come up or become into existence because of the color of your skin. It's come into existence because of your behavior. So I think that that's important. And I think that that's why she got so much attention. But what was more alarming to me was the gentleman beside her, because what he said was, "We should have kept all you motherfuckers as slaves. That's what we should have done." So to me, her saying white lives are better didn't just paled in comparison to him saying we should have kept you motherfuckers as slaves. Because I was like, well, damn, he's just really telling you how he feels. And to me, like, of all of the people, he should have had the most attention. So I will let Jack, I'll let you speak to that and to her apology.
Really, what I just want to say about that, man, is whew, okay. I had to gather myself for a second because there's so many things I want to say, but I'm gonna respectfully say this: you meant what you said.
Mm-hmm.
You meant what you said, and because now you're getting bad publicity for what you said, you lost your job. Pretty much, you're going through things that black people go through on the regular, man. I mean, you know, we lose our jobs just for being black. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I mean, you deserve to lose your job. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You deserve to lose your job. There's no way in hell. I'm sorry. There's no way in hell that you can literally make a comment and tell me I'm not racist. I have black friends, and you're sitting here saying, "Oh, white lives matter," and you're beside a man that's talking about some y'all should have been slaves. Come on, man. We just gonna be honest. Y'all say nigga probably 100 times a day. We just gonna be honest. We just gonna keep it at that. You know what I'm saying? So she could keep her apology, and I'm actually glad that she's going through the things that she's going through because she gets a piece of that American pie. You know what I'm saying? That just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We also had received a phone call from a lady the other day that we had actually spoke to at that Elizabethton rally, and she was one of the main people that was just like, I don't feel like y'all should have beat up on that white guy with the Trump supporter hat, and I feel like you guys were the aggressors at the pawn shop. After we actually talked to her and got her to get a better understanding of the situation, she did understand. But
Mhm.
also later on, she started receiving phone calls from people all over from social media because they were attacking her for how she was acting at the protest the whole time. So pretty
Right.
much what I had to tell her, she was just like, I'm not racist and I've been educated and I was nice to y'all and I don't understand why people are attacking me and it's not right and things of that nature. And I had to tell her it sucks, don't it?
Yeah. So here's the thing that people need to understand. Being nice is not being anti-racist. You can be a nice person and still be a bigot, right? You can be a nice person and still have beliefs that support systemic racism.
I
And
just
I think
I told her you could be racist. There can be like you cannot. Sometimes you might not be racist. Sometimes you might have racist tendencies.
yeah, you might have bigoted beliefs, and that's
Because
one of the
how
things
you're
that
raised.
so
Exactly.
one of the things that I've been trying to educate people is the difference between prejudice, bigotry, and racism, because we use terminology a lot of times interchangeably and they don't mean the same things.
Indeed.
Prejudice is when you have a negative prejudgment about someone without knowing them, right? That's prejudice. We all have prejudice. We all have inherent biases. We all do, right?
Indeed.
Bigotry is a little step up from that. Bigotry is more mean spirited, right? It's a little more aggressive. So if I'm a bigot, that means you might not be able to date my daughter or my son because you're white. You might not be able to do this because of what that's a bigot. But the thing about prejudice and bigotry is they do not involve the system. They do not involve a power structure that
Indeed.
is built in favor for a particular racial group. Racism, however, does. And so the example that I give to everybody is simply this. The moment that Amy Cooper, the Central Park dog abuser, right? The moment that Amy Cooper said, I'm going to call the police and tell them an African American man is threatening my life, she became a racist because she pulled the system into her bigoted behavior. If she had simply said, nah, nigga, I'm not putting my dog on a leash and gone on about her business, she would have been a bigot. But the minute she engages the system because she knows it works on her behalf, then it becomes a racist incident. And that's what people need to be clear about the terminology because people need to have a really good understanding. So Chanel, let me ask you this. What's your response to her apology about she's a grown woman and she knows better?
Do I forgive her? Yes, because I don't like walking around with resentment on my back. But do I want her by my side as an ally? Absolutely not, because I do not trust her for a minute to have my back when it comes to literally anything.
Gotcha.
So do I
So
forgive her? Yeah. But do I want her next to me? Do I want her at these protests holding signs next to me? Absolutely not, because I think if something were to go down, that woman would be the first one to turn me into the police. That woman would be the first one to speak ill on my name. That woman would be the first one that would get mad at me and want to call me the N-word.
right. So in other words, you forgive her because your forgiveness of her has nothing to do with her. That's
Exactly.
simply what you need to do for you,
Because I
right?
deserve peace.
Right, because
Not
you
because
deserve
she
peace.
deserves my forgiveness.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, so Kemp, let me ask you this, just because I've talked to you the least, even though you've been in and out of here the most. What is your favorite part of being part of MPI? And where do you see the organization in the next 3 to 6 months? Oh, wait, shit, I still got you muted. Hold on. I got you. You know, you done come in and out. I had to mute you, unmute you. I'm confused. Now you can talk.
It's all good. My favorite thing about MPI would be um the activism and being able to make a change within the whole world and not just the community. I don't Can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, within the community. That would be one of my favorite things. Also it would be the family that we have grown into be. If any one of our members need anything, we go and get that for them. Right now we have like, I think it's 900 members on our private page. We
Mhm.
have so it's a huge family. So a lot of people within our group, they've been treated like outcasts. They've been treated unequal their whole life. They've been seeing, the streets. They've been stuck in the streets the whole time. So we have a lot of people that came from that lifestyle. But then we also have some people that have been they've lived with their privilege the whole time. So
Mhm.
with that being said, it's the family situation that we have is great with the New Panther initiative, and we all love each other. What was the next question?
Where do you see the organization in, say, the next 3 to 6 months?
3 to 6 months. It's hard to see where we will be. We are growing exponentially. Actually, we have we like you said, we do need to. We're actually going to go ahead and start making a an open page, a public page instead of a
Mhm.
private page. But we feel like with it being a private page, we're able to keep people from infiltrating our website and our area somewhat, because we
Yeah.
have screening questions and you have to read the rules and regulations of the page and actually click on it to follow. So
So let me give
um,
you a little bit of information about that, because I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I've been in digital marketing for 20 years. So what you all currently have is a private Facebook group, right? When
yes.
you create your public page, you can connect the two, but your private group still remains private. It's still, there's no membership on the page. That page, people can follow it. It allows you to put your events. It allows you to put your mission statements, your code of ethics, the things that you want people to know about your organization, but it doesn't put them into your private groups, but they can see that those two things are connected. So if anybody wants me to help, kind of show you those things, I can show you how to set those things up the right way.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're
Most
welcome.
definitely.
Okay.
And
So go ahead.
in 3 to 6 months, I see us with we're gonna go ahead and start some. We're gonna try to start chapters in different locations, different cities, and also different states. We want this situation to be we're worldwide. We want to be really worldwide. Like we're pushing worldwide, like not just nationwide but worldwide. We have people of all different races that stand with us as well, so we're unified with all different types of races: Indian, African, Jamaican, just all Mexican, all different types of ins and outs, Italian, different
Right.
types of
A lot of different
white
ethnicities.
races as well. But in 3 to 6 months, I see us opening up new chapters in different states and just spreading out more worldwide, more nationwide first. We're gonna start slow and build up.
Okay. So, and I know that there's some feedback and I can't do anything about it, y'all. I'm going to move back away from my computer. I don't know why it's feedback. Damn. Hold on. Let me see. Is that any better? Still feel like I'm feedbacking. Okay. Um, think about your growth the same way that I think about social media marketing campaigns. So I might have a client that has national reach, right? But when I go to spend his advertising dollars and I go to set up his targeting, I want to master his local market first that way it's perfected. Like, you know what membership looks like. You know what your code of ethics looks like. Like, it has to be a well, smooth running machine. And then you can actually scale it to size, if that makes sense. Okay. So, but we can talk about that another time. So, Ron, you asked to come back on, and before we get out of here, I wanted to bring you back on and let you speak. If you want to respond to um, the lady from Elizabethan who has now apologized, said she's a grown woman and she knows better. If you have any comments with regard to that or anything else that you'd like to express before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. Hold on, let me unmute you first. Okay.
To interject on what you just said, when you were talking about us moving as a well-oiled machine and making sure that we're strong at home first, we actually discussed that tonight. We are interested in expanding and branching off into new chapters, but we want to make sure home is taken care of first. Like, we want to make sure that we have a set guideline, code of conduct, and rule book for these other chapters to follow, because we don't want somebody in Nebraska wearing a new Panther shirt to do something stupid and it come back on the organization as a whole. And I think that's why we do have such a heavy vetting process. We don't table anybody that, we haven't seen. Like, if somebody does get tabled, they have to have somebody vouch for them that they've been to at least 2 protests, community outreach. We vet people pretty heavily. So, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable in our selection process as it is right now. I feel like it'll get better as we go along. I mean, like Kemp said, we're still new at this. We're all trying to figure this out as we go along. As far as, the lady from Elizabethan, it's the same thing I'll say about any other person like that. A lot of these people hide behind a mask. They put it on, when they go out in public, and they don't want to offend anybody, and they do just enough to keep themselves either on the fence or 1 foot over, in that systemic problem of racism. But they don't want people to see, because they know nowadays, you can't just say whatever you want to say. Somebody can take offense and it can cost you your job, cost you your livelihood, your family, all these different things. So for me personally, I grew up in the 80s where if somebody wanted to call you a nigger, they was going to do it to your face. They weren't going to do it on social media. They weren't going to do it at a protest, standing behind the police. They weren't going to, I feel like racism is more prevalent now, but we do more to mask it than before the time where everybody had a platform and everybody had a camera. I think that, back then, these people were more upfront about it because they knew that there was no consequences.
Mm-hmm.
As far as that lady goes, I think that she felt like she was above reproach, and that's why she acted the way she did. I'm not condoning what she did, but I feel like the system has enabled her and many others to feel like, this is still that time where you can be out there with it and you can be prevalent with it and nothing will happen. And people got to realize, like, we're not chasing people down no more. We're not running up on them. We're not pulling up. We're going to hit you where it hurts economically and socially. And then when you run up, then, the issue can happen past that. But first things first, we're going to make sure that we take away your ability to make money, and we're going to take away your ability to make friends. Because in life, economics and social status are 2 of the biggest things that any person can have. If you got money, you're good. If you got a nice social status, you're good. But if nobody knows the things you're saying behind closed doors, it's easier to hide that. So I like the fact that it's becoming more mainstream to expose these people, because that means that they can't just hide behind that mask anymore.
So let me ask you this, because I thought about this the other day. I definitely support exposing people who are part of the system, right? So if you are someone who works in law enforcement, the judicial system, if you are someone who works in the education system, the healthcare industry, the financial sector, if you are someone who plays a role in the major systems that have to do with, elevating or suppressing a particular racial group, I'm all about those people not being in those positions, right?
Right.
I think one of the things that I get concerned about is will we repeat the mistakes from the civil rights movement if we don't also work extra hard at building the bridges? And the reason why I say that is because, okay, so here's what we did with the civil rights movement. We
Right.
made it socially unacceptable to be outwardly racist. So racism became coded, right? Racism became about states' rights and forced busing. It became about cutting taxes. It became about this very coded language that in and of itself on the surface was not racist or would not be seen as racist, but the impact was still that Black and brown lives would be negatively impacted worse, right? So when we changed laws and we had forced integration, we changed the laws, but we didn't change the hearts and the minds of the people.
Right.
And so then we had children going into schools where teachers still thought about them the same and other students still thought about them the same, right? When we think about that. So I think just wrapping this up, I'll ask the three of you guys before you go. Jack, I'm about to put you back up on here, okay? So
I'm about to say, because I know Kemp said he had one more point he wanted to make before we wrap.
He jumped off already. Oh, he's back. Okay, damn. Okay, I'm going to ask the four of you real quick before we go. This will be your last address. What do you think is something that you as an individual and NPI as an organization can do to help change the hearts and minds of people with regard to bigotry and racism? Chanel, I'll let you go first.
A good example of something that we have done that I think we need to continue doing that would accomplish just that. In Elizabethan, we were greeted with racial slurs. We had people telling us to go home. We were instructed, do not engage with them, which is what bothered them more than anything. But not only did it bother them, I think it also sparked their curiosity. So when things sort of died down, we walked up to the barriers while remaining on our side of the barriers, and we greeted them and we shook their hands. And if nothing else, they were forced to do something that they didn't want to do. They had to humanize us. So even if they walked away disagreeing, they had to look at us as human beings. They had to look us in the eye. They had to shake our hands. So they had to level the.
She froze. Did she freeze for y'all too? Damn. She was doing real good too.
Players, no yelling.
Yes.
Am I still frozen?
No, now you're back.
Oh, okay. What did you hear me say?
So
what do I have to?
I heard you say is you have to continue to reach out, and that was the last thing I heard you say. Continue to level
the playing field. Yeah. And then we had a conversation with them, like just conversation like we're having with you right now. We let them ask their questions. Why are you guys out here? Why did you come to this town? Especially why did you step out of your town to come to our town? Why do you do this? Or why do you do that? Or what do you stand for? Or this and that and the third. And really, even if they didn't agree with us when they walked away that day, they understood us. And I think that's something we need to keep doing, what we did in Elizabethan, because like I said, I think we touched a lot of people. There was a lot of people that cussed us when we walked up that, like I said, shook our hands at the end of the day. Because even though a lot of them were still saying, well, I still don't see eye to eye with you. Like I said, they had to humanize us. They had to respect us. They had to level the playing field, and they had to understand us. And I think that that's very important. That's what brings them closer to our message, in my opinion.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate you for being open and for letting me be your auntie for like half a minute. And and all right, so I'm gonna take you down. Appreciate it. I literally have a baby that is 22. My other daughter is 20. God, how old is my other child? 25. She might have just turned 26. And then I have two grandbabies that are 6 and almost 3. So when I say like some of y'all are the age of my kids, that's why I be feeling like, let me mother them a little bit. So hold on. Okay. So I'm going to throw, Dre, you look like you're still on here too. So I'm going to bring you back. Hold on one sec. And, Kemp, you had one more thing that you wanted to say. So I'm going to let you speak the last thing that you wanted to say and share, you know, kind of what you think is necessary to bridge the gap.
I was trying to comment on it earlier, but I guess I was muted. So with we're our age description for the New Panther Initiative is from the age 0 to 100, maybe even 100 or whatever, 199. You know, with modern day advancements in technology, you know what I'm saying. But seriously, so it's 0 to 100 is that's our age description, 0 to 100, and we we mainly have younger followers, like a lot of younger people, like how you said you're here to be a mother to us. The thing is, we with our with this movement, and like I tell, like this is what, like, you know, a lot of older people, they're stuck in their ways. They've been doing the same thing for 70 years, never been outside of their city doing the same thing. So we don't expect a lot from these people, but we just want to raise awareness with these people. So with that being said, like our younger generation, this generation that you're speaking to right now, we're done with it. We're through with being scared. We're done living in fear. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go to these places and we're gonna have we're gonna make awkward conversation with these people. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to say. When you start making conversations awkward with people, it leaves a print on them, and it makes them, they go home and they get to their dinner table at night and they start thinking about what's going on. Like then they're like, oh, either at that point they can either choose to do some research and get enlightened on the facts, or they can stay in their ways. So
Right.
what I tell a lot of people is, I'm like, they're yelling at us. When they're yelling at us, I'm like, this movement isn't for, if there's like a 70-year-old yelling at us talking crazy, I'm like, sir, this movement is not for you. This movement, you, in about 10 to 15 years, you may not be here, but 10 to 15 years, my kids are going to be 15 and 16, and they will still be here. So this movement is for the people after us. This isn't just a movement for us. And we're tired, and we don't want to fight the movement the way that society expects us to fight the movement. We're not burning flags. We're not flipping statues. We're not doing what the older generation, they're giving us advice, and we're not following that. We're doing things differently because we don't want to do the same things that Malcolm X did in the exact same ways. We don't want to do the same things that Martin Luther King did in the exact same ways, because obviously it brought us a little bit of change, but it didn't fully complete the problem. The
Right.
problem's not solved. Yes.
Well, I think it's growth in stages. So just like, you know, you talk about at some point in time, there's somebody that plants a seed, and then there's somebody else that waters the seed, and then there's somebody else that, you know, has to pluck the seeds pluck the weeds while the seed grows, right?
Yes,
There's
most
a lot
definitely.
of things that happens, and everybody has a role to play, and everybody's movement's not going to look the same, you know. So I'm a fan of uncomfortable conversations because to me they're an opportunity for growth. It's the reason why I started doing podcasts and broadcasts, was for that particular purpose. The only
Yeah.
thing that I would say to you is don't discount the older generation, because some of those folks, I don't know if you've ever listened to a guy by the name of Wayne Dyer, but he talks about the morning, the afternoon, and the evening of our life. And right now, you might be in the morning of your life, and I'm in the afternoon of my life. My mother is in the evening of her life, and our priorities change as we get closer to the evening part of our life, and we have clarity sometimes that we don't have in the morning of our lives. And you know, while you might think that sometimes because those are older people and they're set in their ways that they are a lost cause, don't write them off, because they are absolutely not. You would be surprised the number of 70 somethings, 60 somethings, 80 somethings that have sent me messages over the last year and even over the last 6 weeks who've said, I had no idea about such and such and such and such. And thank you for making me see this. And I didn't know what privilege was, and I didn't know that. So, it's definitely about our future, right?
Yes,
It's definitely about our future.
and we don't look down on the elderly at all. If we actually we march, the elderly actually march with us as well. So that's what I'm saying. We go from 0 to 100.
Yeah,
But
I didn't mean that you look down on them at all. But
no,
when you were
yes,
saying that the movement's not for them,
yeah.
I just want to share that I think the movement is for all
Nah,
of us.
it's for them. It's for
Like
them most definitely. But they're like your mother, they're tired of fighting for this same cause. They're tired of fighting for this same cause. So it's up to us to stand for it and go continue the march.
I get that.
We need their back support right now. We need their back support drastically. We need it so bad. We need their hugs, their kisses, their cooking on Sundays. We need all that. You know what I'm saying? But we even need their prayers. But a prayer without action is nothing. You know
Faith
what I'm
without
saying?
works
You
is
can,
dead.
yes. So therefore, like we our our elderly people are our backbones. So they're just tired. We know they're sick and tired. They've been fighting these through like 6, 7 different presidents. They're tired.
Yeah. So like my parents, my mom was white, my dad was black, but my parents were married in 1964. So 3 years before the Loving case even happened, right? So
That's wild.
yeah, they were trailblazers. They were both military too. By the time my black dad was medically retired from the army, he'd had 2 tours in Vietnam. He was a physician's assistant, and he was a captain in the army. So my dad was quite exceptional. So, but I get what you're saying about the older folks. I do think that we all have our role to play. So real quick, I'm going to go to Jack and then Iran, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay, Jack. Hold on. I got to unmute your ass now. Hold on. Okay, go.
All right, now, what question did you want me to pick back up on from what he had?
So what I was asking was, one of the things that I don't want us to do is to repeat the mistakes from the civil rights movement, where we change laws, but then we don't change the hearts and the minds of the people.
Indeed.
When you change laws, but you don't change the hearts and minds of the people who govern those laws. That's why you can have 2 different people stand in the same courtroom for the same crime and get hugely different sentences. So in your mind's eye, what are the things that you think that NPI does and that you do to help make sure that we change the hearts and minds of people and not just the system?
I can honestly say that sometimes the way we go about things might not always be the best. I can honestly say that we're working on that. But I think one thing that we do as a organization is we practically just we call out the people that don't need to be in the mix. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like what went on at the pawn shop, you had officers that did not want to do their job. Even the chief of police stepped out there and he played the same game. I didn't see anything. I wasn't there. I don't know what was going on. Blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much what it goes down to is we need to weed those people out.
Of the
All
system.
people that don't really care about their job, don't care about the community. All those people that have these establishments that don't accept all people into their establishments. We need to shut these people down. We need to shut those businesses down. We need to get those people out of these careers that don't care about the careers.
So let
Um,
me ask you this though. So from a private business perspective, right? If I'm a private business
mhm,
and I choose to be a bigot, right?
mhm.
That's actually legally my right to do so, right?
Very, it
I can
is.
deny business to anybody that I want to. When
Mhm.
we talk about the system, though, the educators, the judges, the officers, the DAs, the healthcare professionals, those individuals, are the people that I agree 100% need to be out of those positions. How do you accomplish that mission and still build a bridge that change the hearts and minds of people? How do
It's
you accomplish both of those?
it's definitely going to take some homework. That's one thing I could definitely say. It's definitely going to take a little bit of homework. We're definitely going to have to do a little bit more critiquing with everything that we do, because everything that we do needs structure. So I believe that when it comes to what we're going to do as far as getting these people out of these positions, we have to do it strategically, because if we do not, if we just act out of anger, people are just going to see our anger. They're not going to see the reasons why we're angry. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy for me to be like, oh, that police officer didn't do his job, but can I
Right,
prove why he didn't do his job and why he doesn't deserve to have that job? That's the critical thinking that we have to think about when it comes to these situations. So
right,
pretty much it's just weeding out these people. We have to do our homework, we have to do our research, we have to hold people accountable for their actions, and by doing so, that's what's going to clean up our society of people. That's what's going to clean up the police officers that we have in these cities. That's what's going to clean up
mhm,
the businesses that we have in these cities. You know, and another thing I want to say is, what's the point of having a business if you're not going to accept the money? Isn't that what you
right.
have a business for? So it's
Yeah,
like,
so racial discrimination is not allowed. It's also
yeah,
difficult to prove, right?
definitely.
It's difficult to prove. And then, especially if people want to tie it into faith and so much. So from what I hear you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I hear you saying is accountability for people in positions where they are practicing, racist behaviors and thought processes, especially if they impact the community. And at the same time, in doing that, continuing the community outreach and the education that is why you want to hold these people accountable.
See, I like when you clean it up, because sometimes it's like my mind thinks it, but my heart doesn't get it off the way I want it to. So I'm
I
glad
got it.
you cleaned it up. So you got my back. You know what I'm saying? But that's
I
definitely,
got it.
yes, ma'am.
By the way, I do want to say this because it's 1 hour before midnight. Today is the last day to make sure that you are registered to vote. If you are in the state of Tennessee, you need to go online and make sure that you do that. Voting is incredibly important.
And do this.
And as a matter of fact, I will be having two candidates, one who is a candidate for the Tennessee State House and one who is a candidate for Congress. They will be on an interview with me on Monday evening and on Tuesday evening. So I'll be posting those as well. So, Ron, I'm going to let you wrap it up, finish it, and tell me what you think, the organization and you as a whole and you can do to forward the movement and make sure that you went over, the hearts and minds of people at the same time.
As far as forwarding the movement, I think that I'm just to speak to what Kim said with the uncomfortable conversations. I think that that's, what we're really mainly focusing on is the fact that we're trying to draw these people out to face themselves and maybe learn a little bit about themselves and also learn about ourselves in the process. It's very taxing speaking to people who hate you so much and remaining calm, trying to make sure that your brothers and sisters leave safe, that no one gets injured, that you don't have to retaliate, that you don't have to defend yourself. It's taxing. It's very taxing.
Yeah.
I think that it speaks volumes to the character of the members of MPI that we can walk into these situations and, we can change minds. We can affect people's ways of thinking and the ways they were conditioned and raised to, maybe reevaluate some of their beliefs and convictions. And I think that alone shows the progress that we've made as a group and as a family. Going forward, I love these people. I've known Jack for a while. I knew Jack through circles, like Jack said earlier. We all knew each other. I knew Jack through circles. I met Kemp the first night that I was out at Johnson City. I met Chanel probably the third night I was out in Johnson City. I met Alana the first night I was in Elizabethton. I met Tracy maybe the second or third night I was in Johnson City. Like, the point is we've all known each other for a while, but it's like now the focus is shifted. I think that it's to the fact now where we're all more focused and we're all really trying to really lock in on what we want to accomplish with this. I think it goes without said that we want community outreach to be bigger than what it is. It goes without saying that we want education hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Founders Park, 6:30 p.m. Everybody be there. We want education hour to be bigger than it is. We want all these things to accomplish. We've talked about, down in the future, if we can acquire the permits and the funds, opening rec centers, opening daycares, opening all these different things and all these progressive things that we feel that the community needs, because there isn't a place for these kids to go besides the streets to stay out of trouble. There isn't somewhere that these kids can hang out when they get out of school, and just be with their friends and not feel pressured to do something. And that's something that I think all of us have went through. The majority of us in MPI have been in those situations where we made foolish decisions because we were peer pressured into them. And, I think our one of our main focuses is reaching out to the kids and letting them know, you can be proud of who you are and not have to compromise yourself, your convictions, or your beliefs, or, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think that is, we say it joking. We'll be sitting around, or we'll be at a rally, or we'll be at a protest, or we'll just be at somebody's house, and we'll look at each other and be like, we love the kids. And everybody will be like, we love the kids. You know what I mean? And we say it as a joke, but it's the truth. Like, it's like Kemp said, I've got teenagers. My kids are a little bit older. I've got kids who very, very soon will be part of the real world. And I want that real world to be accepting of them. My daughter is non-binary, and I want the world to accept her. I want the world to accept her for her truth as a person living in this country, and I feel that there's several other people in this country. And when I say several, I mean millions, but there's several other people in this country who have families and feel that same way. And there's several other kids right now out here that are out combing the streets getting into trouble because they never had anybody tell them any different. We didn't have, I'm not going to speak for all of us, but, we didn't have strong role models and strong people in the community telling us, hey man, you don't have to go hang out with your friends and do that. Like, you can come with me and, we'll talk and I'll teach you some history, give you something good to eat, and I'll take you home to your mom and dad. And I think that's what we're mainly focusing on, is the fact that we want a better future for the children.
Awesome. David Blank put up probably the best comment that I've seen all night, probably because I'm a little biased. I love James Baldwin. And it's a quote from James Baldwin. It says, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hates so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with the pain. And I think that that's absolutely correct. And I think that if you take that and apply it to the entire country, America holds on to its hate so much because once its hate is gone, we will have to deal with the pain of who we are as a country and how we got here. And so I think that is definitely one of those things. So I appreciate you all for taking the time. This was like double the length of time that my lives normally are. I'm normally on for an hour, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you all an opportunity to be heard, to be able to express yourselves, to let people get an idea for who you really are. There are people that have asked a couple of questions. They ask if they're not able to come out and they're not able to participate in protest or community outreach. How can they still support? What are some of the things that they could still do? What's the best place to get that information? Should we table that question for like once you guys get your public page up, and maybe I can help you put up your events and get it structured?
Answer it really fast.
Go.
First of all, you can feel free to contact any of us, the people that she'll have tagged in the live, me, Kemp, Jack, Chanel, Andre. Feel free to message the page or comment on any of the pages about community outreach. Our main our main sponsor right now is Tri-Cities Tennessee Virginia Mutual Aid. It's ran by a lovely, wonderful woman named Victoria Grace Hewlett. You can look both of them up on Facebook. That's Tri-Cities Tennessee Virginia Mutual Aid or Victoria Grace Hewlett. You can feel free to donate to her for community outreach. And I'd like to go ahead and put it out that anything anybody donates monetarily and or if you just want to go buy a bag of groceries and drop it off, 100% of everything we get goes back into the organization and into community outreach. We don't like we've sank so much of our own money into this. Like it, you know, like I remember the first day we did community outreach and we didn't have anything to give out. And I hit Kemp and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I had to run and, you know, get some money out the bank because I had to pay somebody's bill. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that to brag on Kemp or to give Kemp clout, but just to let people know, like, we're committed to this. We have spent our own money, our own gas, our own time, our own sweat, all of that. Like, we put the footwork in and we put the legwork in for it.
Good. I appreciate it. It was really good to meet all of you all tonight. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know I got Chanel still over there. She chewing her gum now, but she's still with us, even though I can only have 3 of y'all on at the same time. So I appreciate you guys for rocking for 2 solid damn hours. I think here's one of the things that I said when I moved back home. I believe that God knew I couldn't come back here if they didn't have some damn vegan options because I don't eat meat, right? So when I came back and they had field roast and Beyond Meat, I was like, praise him because I can't get down no other way. And like 2 years ago, they didn't have it, right? So I knew it was okay for me to come home because I was like, I got to be able to eat, right? The second thing is that I don't believe that something happens. If something comes up, it's because you are ready. Even if you don't know you're ready to tackle it, you're ready if it comes up, right? And as a whole, as a country, and as a community, the issue of systemic racism continues to come up. And I think, you know, the fact that it's coming up in the manner that it's coming up, and there are so many people of different racial groups, different ethnicities, different genders, non-gender, you know, identifying different sexual orientations, whatever, people are ready to come together. And it's just
we want a revolution.
Yeah, everybody wants to create something beautiful and better together. So, and I don't think that it would be happening if we weren't ready for it. It might be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but I definitely think that that change is happening. So, again, I appreciate you all very much. I'm going to snap you guys off of here one at a time, and let me know if I can be of any assistance. Appreciate you all. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and listening for as long as you did. I will be downloading this and I will upload it on the YouTube as well so that it's available. And we'll keep moving forward. I appreciate everybody. You guys be amazing. Be light, be love. Peace.